Was that a you? Diabetes?
A diabetic tree.
Oh.
Yeah.
People are having to like go give the tree its insulin shot.
Welcome to the Beacon House Podcast, recorded live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
And that's why Casey's not here today. Hey, guys.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, folks, coming at you, this is Beacon House. I'm your host, Spence.
I'm the other host,
We've got some
Hunter.
special guests here today. Former guests, both of them, joining us
Not
today.
guests, friends and co-hosts.
Friends and co-hosts are guesting. What? I don't know.
I guess it's more intimate.
You're an asshat.
First off, you guys, from way back on episode number 20, our second ever mailbag episode, it is Miss Rachel Reetz. She's joining us today. Rachel, say hi.
Hello.
There we go. That's very good. That's good. That's good. And then from a little bit later, you may remember from one of our amazing episodes last October when we were talking about spooky things and horror movies, whatever, from the I Don't Know How to Live podcast. It's Tweester. How you doing, man?
Hey, pretty good. Pretty good. Thank you.
It was actually my favorite episode. I was on my honeymoon.
Oh, yeah, you weren't. Yeah, I bet it was. That's probably why I liked it so much. That's right. You weren't even here. So how are you guys doing today? What's up?
Oh, not much. Just been hanging out. Quit my job a couple weeks ago, so just been tooling around trying to figure out what to do with my life and what I want to be when I grow up.
What's it been like? That's a dream of mine, is to quit my job.
It's been good and bad. I'm somebody that has to work 24/7 to feel like I'm accomplishing anything, and so even if I work all day on the house, I feel useless by not contributing financially to everyone. So
I would be willing to give it a shot.
That's fair. That's really weird, though. Not even the financial aspect of it, but feeling like if you're not doing something, then you're wasting time. Even though, chilling is actually really important for health. But
exactly,
I suffer from that a lot. If I'm not doing something constantly, I feel like I'm going to die young and have not lived my life.
Some people quit their job and then stop doing everything. So cleaning your house all the time is not the worst thing that could happen.
That's true.
That's a fact. And, it's probably one of those things where it's kind of like the grass is always greener kind of a thing. Like I literally today on my way down here was just like, oh, I really need to vacuum. There's like a whole sink full of dishes. And like I would give anything to have the time to do that stuff because I feel I come home and I'm like, oh, man, I'm just too busy. So,
how are you guys been doing? We should ask you.
Oh, man. We've been real busy, I feel like. We've been knocking out a lot of episodes. Jesus, man. It's been a lot. Kind of looking at, this is the time of year where we're trying not to screw up what's coming up for the fall for like October. We want to have a bunch more. We would love to have you back on again around Halloween and talk about just scary movies and all kinds of cool stuff like that. Like we don't want to blow the Halloween episode. And
talk about that in day-to-day life. That'd be easy.
Dude, I know. Yeah. And then like even coming up down the road, like the Christmas, we try to do something at Christmas. So we're kind of thinking about that stuff a little ways out. But, it's what
we really need to get on that Christmas one.
I know, dude.
We waited.
I know. We've been watching movies. You guys seen good movies? Let's take them now. I know. I've been following you, sir, on social media. I know you've seen a ton of movies, and you're kind of doing like this review thing, and it's awesome. I love reading it, dude. I love how you fucking break it down, and we're not going to like reveal to everybody what your social media is, but like, can you tell us a little bit about that process and all that?
Yeah, basically, if you know about bullet journals or bujos for short, it's literally just journals where instead of having lines, they have bullet points, and this makes it easier to like do calligraphy or even just normal, regular, day-to-day like writing and drawing and everything else, so it's something that's helpful. And so I got one as a present for my birthday, and I was struggling with what should I, because I already have another one that I like to write in. I was like, what should I use this for? And I was like, oh, I see a shit ton of movies. I'm just going to put down my experiences with those movies, because sometimes someone will ask me about a movie and I'll be like, yeah, and they're like, how was it when you went to go see it in theaters? And I'm, oh shit, I think I was in like the front row and it was this, and this person was like, oh shit, you know what, I don't know. Yeah. So this is a way to like cement those memories, and at the same time, I just put down a little review and then throw it up there. So if anyone's going to see one after I've seen it, they'll be forewarned.
I dig it. I like it a lot, man. I think it's really, really cool. And you kind of break down like the mixture, the demographic of the audience and everything like that.
Yeah, I always put down demographics because, especially in today's day and age, people talk about that a lot. And I'm like, well, here, let me show you what one person's experience is with that.
Dude, I think that's rad. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen them?
No, I haven't.
It's pretty rad. You got to check them out. Like he'll break down like the movies, like what they did, and if they kind of fell apart in the second act, or if there's this other thing, and then like the audience was like 50-50 men and women, or like mixed with minority or whatever like that. Like it kind of tells you.
That
like
is really interesting. Yeah.
It is really cool, and you've got kind of some like artwork and stuff on it.
I try to incorporate something from the movie without giving it away. That's the hard part too, because I'm like, I want to put something from the movie. It can't be a spoilery thing, but Oh, and my rating system. That's what most people seem to like. They always talk to me about because it's like 1 out of 5.
Yeah.
But depending on what the movie is, it'll be like, so for John Wick, it was 4 out of 5 doggos. Stuff like that.
You have mastered the art though of being able to give a very good specific review without giving away any spoilers. And the internet just is not capable of doing that on their own.
Part of me developing that is because I was so frustrated when I would go look for reviews. And be like, either someone was just so full of themselves that they would just have to go into this overly long, pompous, like, oh, look at all the references I can pull from, 12th century literature while I give you this movie review. And I'm like, well, why don't I just try to put down as honestly as I can what I thought and what I noticed and, maybe give someone a shot at knowing if they might like it or not.
Which is what it's supposed to do anyways.
It is.
I hate the thing of, let's just give you a blow by blow of everything that happens in the film, including the third act.
Yeah, no, you don't do that.
Right.
It's because they don't know how to review anything anymore, though. It's like a book report from third grade, but done by professionals in journalism.
Yeah. Ugh, God. I've had a bunch of them ruined for me too, man, where you're just like, you're trying to read it and you're like, well, this isn't really telling me a lot about the experience. Like, especially people reading a review, trying to decide if they're going to go see the movie. And they're going to, and they kind of want something to maybe either sway them one way or the other. And they're looking at it and they're like, this is just one person's like fucking like in their mental inventory of their thing. And you've got to got like an outline that you go by. So it's kind of static, I think that's cool. Like you've got a rating system and you talk about these things and it's that way for every single one of them. I think that's really rad.
Yeah. And like, I try to be objective because, just because I don't like something, I try to say, well, if you like this kind of thing, then you might like that. Like even movies that I didn't like, but I think that objectively they're well made. Like it just wasn't for me. You might like it.
100%.
On the spoiler note, what I'm really frustrated with lately is I will be watching like a show and the spoilers usually don't come till the end of the series, but I'll be behind everybody and I want to Google a particular actor from said show. And with Veronica Mars, I ended up Googling up one of the characters in the show and there were just articles with the headlines with the spoilers right there. Like it doesn't even give you any warning. And
sucks.
I just wanted to look up what other movies this guy was in,
Yeah.
And
You're talking about Logan?
I wasn't going to say it because
We
it's
can edit
a
it
spoiler.
out. Did you know that he was also in iZombie, but I don't think he's been in a lot of other shit.
No, but yeah, it was Logan I was looking up. And
it almost is like he only acts for Rob Thomas, the fucking writer. But anyway, yeah, I saw
singer from Matchbox 20 is the writer of this.
You know what? Yes, just for you, yes.
Thank you.
I can't
now
convince
part of
you.
his reality.
So, what about the? I don't know. There's some stuff going on in the news. I don't know if you guys.
You really want to talk about the billionaire
I don't
with
know.
Clinton dirt under his fingernails? Is that what it is?
I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think?
You want to
Casey's
talk
on
about the
vacation.
news?
Let's jump into
You guys had
politics.
your political episode, right?
Oh, dude, we need to get away from the political.
I got
stuff,
something that I just was thinking about lately, but something I just thought over a lifetime. You can tell me if you want to talk about it or not. Sure. Traditions and when traditions are good and helpful for people, and when they're just roadblocks to progression, and when they're just mindless and they've lost all meaning.
I think that is a fantastic
Like
topic.
intentionally making an entire nation think that a two-party system is the only way to the future, and that independent thought is not allowed.
Or like Rogan said, he said if the founding fathers came back and they went, you guys didn't write any new shit?
Yeah, that's fair.
You're still going by that? Like you have fucking computers in your pocket now.
What are you doing? You know way more than us. We don't know how any of this stuff works. What are you doing?
That's a great idea. Tradition.
Give me some. I'd have to have some examples.
The wedding traditions.
Oh man.
Specifically, which ones?
Okay, so
getting married in a church or just having a wedding all together. I got so much shit for just going to the courthouse.
Did you really?
So much
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
But that's up to you,
I
though.
hurt my whole family. My best friend was really upset.
she's like, I wanted to be your
Yeah.
bridesmaid, and your family's like, we wanted to throw a big wedding, and
Yeah.
you'd be like, for you.
Eventually they supported me and are in love with the fact that we're married now and happy for us. But man, we got a lot of flack for
That's
just
so-
eloping.
It's so weird because, like, I get the idea of, like, wanting to celebrate with and for the person. Like, you're excited about that aspect of it, but it's still your wedding.
I just think the tradition of starting off your life with $10,000 to $20,000 in debt over a one-day party is the dumbest idea in the world.
Or even if it, even if like they're like, well, we're going to give this money to you anyways, like wink, wink, to try to get you to do a wedding. You should be like, great, we're going to go on the best honeymoon of our life, and then we're going to put a down payment on a car or house.
Right. I'd rather have the down payment on a house.
That's a way to start your life.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. I know. See, I feel like a lot of guys feel like the girl wants the wedding, and I know that's so polarizing. But like, I feel like I know plenty of dudes who would be like, "Fuck yeah, let's just go to the courthouse. I'm in." You know, like let's get on with it. But I feel like I don't know, man. You almost feel like you're going to offend somebody else if you don't go along with the whole tradition thing.
That is also fair though, because women are more targeted, even at a young age, for those kind of ads. They don't try to target them at us.
That's true.
You know how many wedding ads I felt like were for me in my lifetime?
Yeah,
fucking none.
That's fucking true, dude. And because you always see like a bunch of guys like standing outside the church smoking cigars, like, yeah, let's get this over with. Like that's supposed to be like the guys. He's just like putting up with the wedding.
Yeah.
But the girl has like, they're doing her hair, and it's this whole big thing, and it's like blah 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 blah. And yeah, I don't know.
It's expensive just to go to someone else's wedding. I mean, to buy your bridesmaid dress and to get your makeup and hair done for the day, and the specific shoes that you're never going to wear again.
Our
they have to be dyed a certain color, and
yeah, I've been grateful to have a couple friends that have been really thoughtful about the fact that they might want to pick out a dress that we could wear again.
I was going to say that. I've noticed that more and more. I had a friend who said the same thing. She went to a wedding recently, and the bride was like, I just need it this color. You pick out a dress that you can wear the rest of your life.
That's exactly what my wife did.
See, that's amazing.
And that's what
it's really
I
helpful.
did with the groomsmen. The whole thing was color swatches. If it matches this and you meet the dress code of like dark pants and vest and shoes, we don't care
if you
what it is.
Ask all your groomsmen to wear all black to your wedding, then they've also got their funeral clothes for the future too. So that's a double whammy.
Well, weddings and funerals both, I think, are just a money market. I mean, funerals are so expensive, and they're never going to go out of business. Everyone's going to die.
yeah.
And there's not an affordable option.
No. It used to be cremation at first, but then they've made that unaffordable
That's expensive
as well.
too.
Yeah.
We cremated my grandma, and that was not. Being there for the meeting where they discussed that was mind-boggling.
The only way that you can not spend a ton of money is if you tell your family to heartlessly just refuse to pick your body from the morgue, and then the state has to deal with it, but they're probably going to be too sad to do that. Or you decide early on to donate your body to science, because when you do that, whichever institution is going to take you, they take care of everything.
I had a friend that they just dug a hole on their property, and I think that's illegal.
Technically illegal, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's illegal, so I'm not going to say who said friend was, but I actually thought it was a very beautiful thing, because they know they're going to stay there their whole life, and they've got access to the grave, and they can go get their closure or visit or whatever they need to do.
So did they have the family bury them like when they died?
I don't remember the details. It was a couple years ago.
When they started feeling bad, just went near the hole.
But I think they built their own.
I don't mean that insensitive. I'm just like, were they sitting on the edge of it? Like, this is probably it.
I think they built their own casket and everything.
And just plotted it all out. That's pretty rad. You talk about fucking taking
That's pretty
matters into your own hands.
old-fashioned. I like that.
I want to be a tree.
It is pretty cool. I like that.
That's a very Ron Swanson way out of things.
I have another friend that wants to be a firework. She wants her ashes put into a firework and exploded over the ocean.
That's actually pretty dope.
If that starts, like, we're going to get a disease from that eventually.
Dude, that's totally a big. There's all these things now you can do. Let's talk about that. All the shit you can do with the ashes. Like, you can have them made into a vinyl record of your choosing, so it plays. Your ashes are in the vinyl, but it'll play whatever song, and then they've been making jewelry out of them for a while. Like, you can get a pendant that has your loved one's ashes in it. Then the firework thing, I didn't know about that. That's a new one. They put them in the firework, and it goes up, and it.
My brothers and dad have a heart of my grandma, like a heart shaped. It's not a paperweight, but essentially that type of small thing that she's scattered in those three objects.
You can get your ashes put into like a baby tree, like buried with the baby tree, to where you're significantly put back into nature. But I thought that was a cool idea, and just instead of having graveyards, have arboretums that have like memorial benches and like a park and all kinds of things. And every tree is the gravestone for everyone who's passed away. My only sadness with that is trees get diseases and die themselves, and so it would suck. But I would assume by the time that happened, everyone who remembered you would also be.
Then that tree goes into the ground and makes more trees.
What are you laughing at? What's so funny? It'd be terrible if yours was like the one shitty tree in the whole place. Like
that would be pretty
limbs
funny.
are falling off.
It
like,
can't grow leaves.
Yeah,
it's allergic to sap.
It's all eaten up. Was that a you diabetes?
A diabetic tree. Yeah.
People are having to like go give the tree its insulin shot.
It's watered with insulin. And you have to give it Lantus once a month, otherwise it shrivels up from the inside.
Fuck. And like mine and Casey's trees wouldn't have a whole lot of branches on top, you know?
Yeah.
Fucking your tree.
When you said the trees could get diseases and it was sad, I agree, but I thought, if I'm remembering this correctly, it made me think of when you told Eric Stam that if you cut a broccoli and listen close enough, you can hear it scream.
Did I say that?
I'm pretty sure you did.
I don't think I did. But
I heard that story from somewhere.
I hope I did.
You can take credit for it now. But
I don't
just
believe that.
Pictured
I don't believe that
broccoli.
at all. Christ. Yeah. No, I think that's a great idea too. And they say they have a lot of these like bio ash containers. So there's some that you can put in water. Like if you want to release it in like a lake or something, and it'll go in the water and eventually dissolves, and the ashes go wherever the water goes. And there's all this stuff. So, you know, it's an industry, but some of it's cool, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it just sucks that like they prey on people who've just had a serious event in their family.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They really try to get people that, well, you're going to want to visit them. I walk through a major graveyard around here with some friends a lot. Like we take walks through there.
See, I think that's awesome.
At night, I've been there during the morning, during the day, and there are thousands of gravestones. And you know how often I see people actually visiting graves?
Very little, I'm guessing.
Only when there's a funeral.
Only when there's a funeral, yeah. Otherwise, they're just exercising.
And if they're there for the funeral, then maybe they'll be like, "Oh yeah, Grandpa's buried over here. Let me show you like this one since we're already here." People never come visit graves, and like that's not to say everyone's shitty. It's just like they're preyed upon right when they have a death, and they're told that they're going to want to come by and visit this place all the time. But when you hear someone's constantly visiting someone's grave, what do you think? You think that's depressing?
True. That's 100% true. Yeah, I get it. And I feel like there's this whole romantic imagery that they have in movies where people are standing at the grave all the time, and like and I'm not shitting on it, but like the Rocky movies where he spent every day in the graveyard with his wife, reading the paper to her and all that stuff. And it's sweet. It looks sweet, but like you said, in our real experience in reality, I don't think you see it that much.
Even in that movie, it's supposed to be depressing. That's supposed to signify him not moving on until Creed comes along.
Exactly.
He's like, I got something else to live for.
There is one graveyard, and it's in Maryville, and it's the one grave I've visited a lot, and I don't even know the guy, but I would go with my best friend because she goes yearly. She puts out spring flowers in the spring and then like fall flowers in the fall, and she goes because you can see the mountains and it's peaceful, and it was her best friend. If you remember the guy that got ran over on the interstate when we were all younger, it was that guy, and it was a really traumatic incident, so I'm sure that's probably why she goes to visit as well. But it's also a peaceful thing, and she started bringing me, and I ended up being peaceful. And we would actually see people visiting graves, and one guy was always visiting his wife and bringing her flowers. Like every time we went random times, and he was there refreshing her flowers pretty much every time.
Interesting.
See, and that's nice.
It is. And I find that, man, supposedly, I think it's cool that you guys take walks in graveyards. I think it's rad. And admittedly, like sometimes there's like a coffee shop I go to that's right next to a graveyard, and I like that. I like it because I like to look out the window and look at the graveyard, and like, I think it's extremely peaceful and like gorgeous. And I think there's a serenity to it, but supposedly back in the day, and I don't know what the day is. I don't know if we're talking about like the 70s, the 60s, the 40s, whatever. But apparently a lot of people used to go and picnic and have their lunch in the graveyard. And it was like kind of like you said, it was like a park, and people weren't weird about going there, and like people just hung out in graveyards, and it was supposed to be super peaceful. There was a lot of like little benches and stuff,
Yeah. The graveyard that I go to, that'd be an awesome place to picnic.
Totally. Yeah.
I think the graveyard boom came when Pokemon Go came out.
It might have.
I think that reinvigorated it. And then some people were just like, hey, this is kind of nice place.
Yeah.
They kept saying Haunter over there, so chase them around.
Didn't you and I go through one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went through a lot of them. There's a lot of Poke spins in those graveyards.
Look, man, it's not hurting nobody. Come on.
Is that because they're not here anymore?
Kind of. Yeah. Yeah, frankly.
If I could go right back around again, talking about traditions, let me see if this is something that I've just started noticing, but I was just curious if you guys have known this too. A wedding comes along, right? And when people pick their groomsmen and people pick their bridesmaids, it's supposed to be people that were really important to them in their life. Mm-hmm. But then sometimes if, say, like the bride has a brother who she might not even be that close with, but it's like, oh, but we're having a wedding, so he has to be in the wedding. Then like the groom has to use one of his spots that's supposed to be for one of the most important people in his life for the brother, just because otherwise like the family gets embarrassed or some shit.
Yeah. And you have to match everybody.
Yeah, and the same thing with a bride has to take on a sister, and it doesn't matter if they're close or not. It's just like you have to take them on. So if the one of the wedding parties has a bunch of brothers and sisters, tough shit. Like there go all your slots. All your friends are sitting down watching.
Yeah, I have noticed that, but I think that's weird because it's not their wedding, and you need to be able to nut up and tell them it's not their wedding and to fuck off and you're going to do what you want.
Yeah, but like, so I'm not the only one to notice that's a social pressure that seems to arise every time there's a wedding and there's siblings.
Nope.
I forget who it was. Somebody was getting married and they wanted a guy on their bridesmaid side, and it was just displeasing everybody that was attending the wedding.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
See, I've thought
it's
like
not your wedding.
If I ever wanted to have a wedding and I wanted one of my sisters on there, I'm not going to try to force her on the bride side. I'm going to be like, get you a dress. You're coming over on my side.
I was looking up a Newsweek article that indicates some of the possibly more obscure traditions, maybe not even obscure, just the not Americanized traditions that people observe around the world.
Well, that'd be obscure over here.
It's true. Supposedly there's a big tradition in Japan where everyone eats KFC.
Really?
Instead of Christmas. And it says, and I quote, in Japan, Christmas isn't really celebrated, but Kentucky Fried Chicken is. And yes, eating Kentucky Fried Chicken on December 25th instead of having a homemade Christmas dinner is a tradition in Japan. The Colonel's special recipe for fried chicken is so popular, the chain asks customers to place their order at least 2 months in advance.
What
Jesus.
the shit?
Yes, that's in
Whoa.
Japan. Yes.
I mean, good for KFC. They're not doing us hot over here lately, so.
It's because they're so fucking expensive.
In Wales, there's a tradition of caroling with dead horses.
What?
Yes, it says here, there isn't a particular day for this weird tradition, but from the time of Christmas to late January, the celebration of Mary Lwyd is supposed to bring good luck. One person will dress as a horse with an actual horse skull and is usually accompanied by a group of people. The group will go to homes singing carols in exchange for food and drinks. The tradition is thought to stem from ancient Celtic rites.
Is this how they get a new May Queen?
I don't know.
I just think holiday traditions. I mean, I appreciate Christmas. Christmas and Halloween are probably some of my favorites, but I feel like every time I'm turning around, there's another holiday that we have to either spend money or take time and get off work to go see specific people. Mm-hmm. I'm a big believer, and then like my birthday will be on a Wednesday, but I'm like, I could care less if we celebrate a week later on a more convenient day. You know, it's all a day when it just comes right down to it.
Yeah.
And the significance of that day is to bring people together. So just pick your own day to come together. That's my opinion.
It's true. In Mexico, they have a thing called Night of the Radishes. In Mexico, you can't celebrate holidays without radishes. Every year on December 23rd, Mexican state of, you're going to have to look that up, Oaxaca, perhaps presents the most impressive... Oaxaca. The most impressive display of carved vegetables in the world. And radishes are grown especially for this event and carved. They show the nativity scene, all types of Mexican folklore. And originally, the radishes were carved by shopkeepers who wanted to entice people into their stores. It is now a 3-day festival.
Yeah, and they do the, instead of Santa Claus, it's the 3 wise men that bring you gifts.
Mm-hmm.
That's a much better way to get the same like fun across while maintaining the idea behind the holiday.
Here's one.
I like that.
Here's one that's super fucking metal. In Iceland, they have what they call the Yule cat. One scary kitty, a huge and vicious cat from Icelandic folklore that lurks during Christmas time and eats people who have not received any new clothes to wear before Christmas Eve. It began as a threat used by farmers as an incentive for their workers to finish processing autumn wool before Christmas. The ones who took part in the work would be rewarded with new clothes. Those who did not would get eaten by the monstrous Yule cat. And supposedly that's still a thing that hangs around.
Yeah, don't accidentally look up Netherlands. They had a pretty bad one up until recently. They did not believe they didn't believe that the sleigh was pulled by reindeer. They believed it was pulled by slaves.
Fucking
and they would reenact it in a parade. But guess what? No, like black immigrants are going to want to take part in that because it's obviously demeaning. So they would just get tall white Netherlands boys and put them in blackface and have them pull a sleigh.
Jesus.
Whoa.
Obviously, yeah, super distasteful, but they kept doing it for, I mean, it was just recently in modern times that they stopped doing it, maybe like 5 years ago.
Whoa.
Something like that, yeah. So I think they take the cake. Distasteful
God,
traditions.
that is the worst one.
You can't get worse than them on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy traditions like that. Like the holiday traditions are nuts. And everybody knows about Krampus, obviously, and there's so many like weird ones like that. What do you think is the traction behind? I mean, some of that stuff is so outlandish. How come you think it hangs around so much? Like, what is it? Why isn't somebody gone, guys, this is dumb. These robes are really dumb, or this crazy thing we have to make. Like, what is the staying power? I think people just need something to like unite behind.
Well, I think their predecessors make them feel guilty for not participating.
You know?
Imagine that, mom did something for most of her life and she never really questioned it because she's not the questioning type. Then she has a daughter and, oh shit, daughter's smart. And she goes, hey, why the fuck are we even doing this? And she's like, what? What do you mean? She goes,
tradition.
Well, this doesn't make sense. And then that part doesn't make sense. Wouldn't it make more sense to do this? And she's like, that means big part of my life was really stupid. No, fuck you, kid. Like, fall in line.
I get it. Yeah, and there's a lot. I mean, I don't know. I think there are a lot of weird traditions like that, especially the marriage when you talked about it. I think that could be seen as like super cumbersome, especially if there's a lot of pressure put on people to do things a certain way. I think that's super fucking unfair. I mean, especially if it's supposed to just be about love and union and all that kind of thing. I don't know if there's a wrong way to do that, but I don't know. People use things probably to their advantage, a lot of strange fucking corrupt ways.
Yeah, well, it's like you said about the Yule Cat. I mean, that tradition was brought along
to scare people into working,
Well, I guess in the sense that with weddings and stuff, that a lot of it stays traditional just because it's like we mentioned earlier, it's a money factory. I mean, if you decided you didn't want to have a white dress at your wedding, you could get a really elaborate dress for about $100, $150.
Oh, yeah.
But slap the title wedding dress and make it white, it's all of a sudden a $2,000 dress.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they push traditions just to keep the money mill working.
That makes sense.
It's true. Do you guys have any traditions that you do cling to? Like, do you have any traditions that are like personal to you or anything that you kind of always do?
I always go see a movie on Christmas Day with my little sister.
Gotcha.
And that just became because I don't like Christmas.
Right.
And that was like hey, and she's not like that big into it. She kind of likes like getting gifts for people. She thinks it's nice.
Yeah.
But all the other stuff that goes along with it, the Christmas movies, like the food and everything else, she's just kind of like, eh.
Yeah.
So we were like, hey, let's do one thing, that we'll enjoy. And, we've had some good luck because either a horror movie, a lot of times, like Christmas themed horror movie would come out lately, or a Tarantino movie would come out.
Yeah.
So we've had some really good Christmas night movies.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. What about you guys?
I don't really follow traditions. I'm probably your most non-traditional person you'll come across, but every morning I like to have a made bed. I have functional
There's something to
traditions.
say for that, yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean, I know that I do, but I don't quite know.
Well, and that's when you think, if you have something that's kind of personal, like if I particularly just like to leave a light on in the kitchen all the time or whatever, like I think some of those are more like ritual, more like habit, or just kind of personal stuff. It seems like traditions are almost have to be ingrained with like a family. Like, okay, now be over here at this time. We're going to eat dinner at this time. Be sure to dress up. Like we're all going to go to church for Easter or whatever. It seems like traditions are almost kind of a group thing, like almost like a group activity, right?
Or meaningful. I mean, I know a lot of people who, if someone they cared for passed away, they'll light a candle that night. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't necessarily involve a group. It's just their tradition. I don't really know the significance behind it since I'm non-traditional myself, but there's just little things like that. I think there just has to be meaning, and the meaning needs to be more of an emotion and less of a function.
Interesting.
I'm starting to think maybe Thanksgiving is the one that I get like super old fashioned about.
Thanksgiving's my least favorite, and everyone scoffs at me for that.
I don't know why they'd scoff at you. Why do you not like it though?
I guess because I don't have a large family, so it's just a lot of work to do a dinner with the family that I see all the time.
Like you're cooking again.
Yeah.
You need a Friendsgiving.
Yeah, I absolutely love Friendsgivings.
Yeah, dude. We used to have some pretty good ones back in the day. That's not a cry for help. That's just saying, like, I remember back in the day when one of the bands I was in, and there was a big house, and like two of the guys lived at the house, and like everybody else rehearsed there, and that was just kind of like the place. And so after everyone's, and this was the point too where everybody had very first kind of started to get married. Nobody really had kids, but they had like extended family, and everybody could go there like on Thanksgiving night and bring leftovers. It was awesome.
That sounds pretty dope.
It was a good Friendsgiving for sure.
I take it back. I do have a tradition. My friend group, that's been my core friend group since about 2003, 2004. A lot of them have birthdays starting around where mine and my friend Ronnie's are. It's early August to mid-August, and we have September birthdays and then early October. And it's just like, we were such a big, tight-knit, close group of friends that it was just like party after party after party in our youth. And then we decided one day that we would just all go to Shrimp Fest every year at Red Lobster.
That's a worthy one.
So every
like
year
that.
we get together and just like get fat on shrimp.
Is that like now? Is that happening now?
I don't know if it's started up yet, but I
always
know
around
it's
this time of
always
year.
going
You'll
on
let us know,
in
though,
September.
right? Let us know, please.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm kind of siding with you on the non-traditional side of things. I am very traditional, but the idea of like, I think the way you're approaching it and the way you described how you do Christmas, where it's like, don't worry about all the other pressures associated with it. If you want to do it, partake and do it with people you want to be around. And I guess that would probably be what makes Thanksgiving Thanksgiving and Christmas, but Thanksgiving more so, because I'm so busy all the time. And now, being married, I've got two families outside of the one that's just me, Libby, and our cat. And I feel like I never see half of these people. And it's just because I'm constantly doing, this or any of my game nights or
being an
stuff
adult,
with Libby or the
adulthood
the
tends
band
to
and-
take you away from a lot of your visiting opportunities.
Yeah, and regardless of if anyone is having beef or anything, at one point or another, it's a good excuse to show up and cast all that shit at the door and be like, we're not going to talk about it right now. We're just going to be together and be happy. And then you can go back to normal the next day. But you get to see everybody. And
My family
that's probably
likes
what
to
I like
fight
about
regardless.
That right there, I think that's a great segue out of like why traditions maybe need to go away. I've seen a lot of people.
Yeah.
I remember I worked with this girl a long time ago, and we were working the day before Thanksgiving, and I was like, "Well, hey, I hope you guys have a good time tomorrow." And she goes, "Oh, it's okay. There's going to be a huge fucking fight." And I go, "Wait, how come?" She goes, "What do you mean?" Because my family's getting together. And I was like, "Oh
man.
shit, man."
No, our family loves each other. I didn't want to paint that the wrong way. We usually do have a great time overall, but at some point there will be somebody who disagrees very passionately with another person within the family, and it just
for sure.
they'll start to raise voices, and everyone else will raise voices to tell them to quit raising voices, and it's just a 10 minutes of chaos. And then
That's why it's good to be the person with the internal clock. You show up with your wife or husband in this case or whatever, and spend 2 hours with everybody where it's great, and then right as everything's starting to build tension, you go, and we have to go see the other family now. Bye.
That's really good.
You just duck out before
Smart.
anything goes wrong.
Fucking smart.
But they all listen, so now they know.
I get the good part of that tradition, though. It's a way to get family together, even if
There's every reason not to.
Some people are mad at each other. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that can be helpful.
I agree, man. I think you still give people a chance to like, kind of hash it out, maybe like come together and like say they're sorry or whatever. Like that. At the end of the day, that's what matters.
Or
Yeah.
even be less mad just because they're, sharing some food.
Because
all of a sudden
there's a dank ass tray of potatoes or whatever.
Like, you're still wrong, but we both agree that these are pretty
great.
awesome potatoes.
Yeah.
They really
But
knock out
this
the party
bacon.
hands.
No, I get it. And Casey talks about that too. Like he said, a lot of times his family gets together and just fucking argue like crazy. Like they start talking about politics and it's just on.
the second politics are brought up, it's over.
We have for our Thanksgiving, we have a no religion, no politics rule.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of.
Casey's wanting to implement that.
No, he is. I feel like a lot of people are moving towards that, and I think that's pretty smart. If you're in one of those situations where it just can't not be volatile, I think that's probably a good.
Yeah, the only
some
argument I've
ground
heard
rules.
against it is they're like, but no, nothing will ever change if you never talk to people who disagree with you about your politics. I'm like, you can do that 364 days. We're just saying one day of peace.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
if you're too cowardly to do it any other day, that's your fucking problem.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Or if you've just already had that fight over and over and over and no one's getting anywhere, and it's like, can we just not bring it up anymore? Because obviously we're not going to find a middle ground.
How about this turkey? Didn't we argue over that one time with the turkey? Like, was it you that shit on the turkey? You're like, how the fuck do people still eat turkey? Like, that's a shit meal. Like,
Was that me? That can't be me.
I don't know.
That had to be Casey.
I feel like that came up with somebody like turkey. Who gives a fuck about turkey? I'm like, like I don't eat a whole lot of turkey through the whole year, so I actually kind of look forward to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's whatever.
We're going to say
a
that was you,
tradition.
Casey.
That's another tradition too. People eat like a specific thing for a holiday. What the fuck is that, man?
They're like, turkeys need to die on this.
I guess it's a symbolism. It's supposed to symbolize like the meal, but why was turkey?
Yeah, except they didn't have, for the first Thanksgiving, they didn't have turkeys.
Yeah.
They had pheasants and they had like smaller fowl, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Turkeys, I'm guessing, are easier to get, and
They make more
get their money. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait, didn't it have something to do with frozen foods? It was the turkey dinners that they started making so many during the frozen food era, like around the TV dinner era, that they had this excess of turkey and they would sell it.
I don't know, but that
makes a lot of sense.
That does make a lot of
And
sense.
then that started the turkey dinner. I think, I don't know, I'm delving like
Dude,
way back into the brain for
That's
that one.
that'd be a great thing to do some research on, is to find out how like manufacturing and like preservation methods have changed our general palate, for like the last 80 years or something.
Or even if that's true, a tradition.
Fuck.
Santa Claus with Coca-Cola. Shaped that holy tradition.
Oh, advertising.
Yeah.
It was such an advertising.
Yeah,
Dude.
Santa
he's
Claus
right.
wasn't that huge in America.
That's true. That is 100% true.
Was it a result of the Coca-Cola?
Yeah.
Connection?
You guys, okay, no, sorry, I thought we were all on the same page.
Yeah, no, that's totally right. The Coca-Cola totally borrowed the Santa Claus imagery and put him in the red suit and did a lot of stuff like that. It was
Yeah, I recognize all that from the back in the day, but I didn't know any of this. I knew that he wasn't super huge until right around the World War II, post-World War II era is when he popped, but I never thought about why. So
Yeah, Coca-Cola used Santa Claus during their ad campaigns, and that was their whole thing.
those smart bastards.
That's why he's a mix between Saint Nick and Krampus.
So how did you guys find out that Santa wasn't real?
holy shit. Dum, dum, dum.
Children of my family, if you're listening, Rachel's very, very wrong.
If there's any
They don't-
children,
surely
if there's
you know.
children listening to this, if you've ever heard one episode before, you don't give a crap about the Santa Claus myth. You're wondering
Just
what.
Sorry,
text me and I'll have a talk with your fathers.
With all the F-bombs, I was unaware children listen to this.
I'm hoping that they don't. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
For the love
Children
of God, please
definitely
don't.
do not listen to this unless you count Casey, who's probably listening right now.
I don't know.
Casey, Santa's real.
Yeah.
You tell a kid not to listen to something, and
Man,
We just don't talk about it around him.
I feel like for me, it was next door neighbor kid had found out and like immediately wanted to fuck my whole world up and just wreck shit for me. And we were standing out in like the fucking yard. We would kind of meet at the fence, which was like a 2-slat wood fence that wouldn't keep anything out of anything. It just literally made a line. So I would stand on one side. I was technically in my yard, and he was telling me about it out there. And I was like, no. And he's like, no, dude, that's just your parents. And the more he talked about it, I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, that's right. Why does Santa have trouble putting that bike together? Like, like one year there were like screws laying everywhere. And I was like, Santa did a shit job. Fucking, like, I was like, fuck, I get it
Oh
now.
my God.
Santa always forgets the batteries.
And I went, and then I went straight to my parents and I was like, what the fuck, And they were like, no. And then finally they were like, all right, look. Okay, it's not real,
I want to go last on this because I need to share ways my mom preserved it for my family. So
My mom made the mistake one morning, and I think I was in the first grade, by me opening up a gift, and I didn't say who it was from. She was like, oh, I got you that. And then I looked at the tag, and it says, but it's from Santa. And I kind of forgave her about that and kept believing in Santa for another year. And I was that kid that went through all the closets, all the drawers, all the cabinets. And in one of my grandmother's drawers, I found a book, and I was like, that's random. It's a random book in here. So I just left it alone. I ended up getting that book for Christmas from Santa.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, fool me once, shame on you.
Yeah,
fool
yeah.
me twice, shame on me.
Dude.
that's pretty good.
And then I went on to still believe in the Easter Bunny and Tooth Fairy because I was like, I still want these
Hey,
things.
hold on to that shit. Yeah. Tweester.
mine was it was more gradual actually, because I had an oldest sister who was pretty sarcastic. One of the first things that I learned early on about deception was that if someone is being overly insistent, laying it on real thick, that something was up. And so, one of my aunts and uncles, not knowing this, they would lay it on real thick about Santa Claus. And because they did that, I knew something was up.
Oh, dude.
Oh, wow.
So I just kind of on my own, I was like, oh, I know what this kind of lying looks like.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So wholeheartedly believing my parents would not lie to me, I, much like Spencer, was past my expiration date on that one. And I guess probably knew in the back of my head, but was just waiting for the confirmation. And we were going into Toys R Us at night, and it was my mom, myself, and my brother Adam, who's been on the podcast. Shout out, Adam. And Mom just looked at me while we were going in, and she goes, I'm Santa, right? Just like that.
Ripping the Band-Aid off. Gotta respect her.
No, again, way past expiration date. I was literally at the point where I was like, I know it's not real, but I don't believe they're lying to me. So what's going on? And just living a duality problem in my brain. So she fixed that. But
what were you like, 22?
23.
Okay.
But yeah, they went all out with that stuff. So
dude, there's on the new Netflix comedy special from Whitney Cummings. There's a little segment where she's talking about like her new fiance, and they're like, go watch the whole thing because she has her new sex robot that's designed to look just like her. Anyway, it's hilarious, but. She's talking about like she's engaged now and her fiance, and they're talking about terrible things that happened in your childhood, and she's got like a big laundry list of shit, and he goes, well, yeah, babe, like one time something terrible happened to me, and she goes, oh baby, what was it? Tell me about it. Like she's like, we're really sharing that. He goes, well, like one time I caught my dad like wrapping presents. And she goes, oh, and then he like, what, he fucked you? And she goes, no, that's how I found out Santa wasn't real. She goes, so you found out one guy wasn't giving you presents and another guy was? That's your childhood? She's like, fuck this. But it's really funny. The whole special is fucking hilarious. But
I sign everything from Santa, even if I'm giving it to adults. It's just much easier than saying from Chris and Rachel, from Chris and Rachel, from Chris and Rachel.
That's pretty funny.
Santa's very short and simple.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember back in the day, there used to be this like pretty aggressive Christian band around here, and this is like adulthood. This is, everybody knew Santa's not real. Everybody knows the Easter Bunny's not real, Tooth Fairy, whatever. But they were real shitty about it. And when they would play, they would go like, they had a song called Santa Claus is Dead. And they was just like, not about Santa, like not like that. Like we grew up, wasn't like that for us, and it was just like real preachy about it. And I remember I hated that. I was like, look, I get that it's not real, and but like, fucking calm down, dude. Like you're being shitty.
Don't rob the magic from other people.
Easter Bunny is dead. Santa Claus is dead. Like those were actual lyrics,
Well, I read articles about how parents get really frustrated that they're spending all this time worrying about what to get their kids, going to buy it, wrapping it, sneaking it around, and then the kids are like, "Yay, Santa!" And then the parents want the appreciation, but
just
they're like,
give someone else credit. Like, that's one of the reasons why I feel like I would never want to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, and is it because the kids go to school and they go, "Why did Santa bring you?" Santa didn't bring me shit.
Yeah,
my dad got me a rad fucking Xbox, but
yeah, someone's gonna blow it for them anyways. You might as well get credit for the stuff you're getting them. You're killing yourself to get them presents.
I think the better idea is to maybe get one gift from Santa and the rest of it's from the parents. So that maybe the big gift can be from Santa.
That's what my oldest brother did with his kids.
Yeah,
that's pretty smart.
Libby talked me out of the Santa thing a while back. Having grown up with it, I didn't really see the harm in it, but she kind of presented the idea that if we're gonna be a household of faith in the first place, raising kids, then one, we don't want to distract from that. And my mom took care of that in her own way, which was genius. But Libby was like, the biggest thing is, even though it's a little thing, and I guess they'll eventually get over it, it's still, at a certain point, the child knows that they were lied to for years. And she's like, I don't want to be responsible for lying to the kids.
Fucking respectable. Yeah. So if you guys have kids, you're planning on not doing Santa at all?
I waffle back and forth on it, but 99% we're not gonna. Yeah,
it's not.
But the other thing is, like, on penalty of death, you will not spoil that for another fucking kid.
That's what I was going to say. How do you send them out into the world? Like, okay, listen, don't tell anybody how honest and smart we are.
Well, especially since you're of the Christian faith, you can't even use the fact that, we're not Christian, so Santa's not coming.
Yeah. Santa has nothing to do with Christianity anyways.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
But, no, I know, but just like that would be the defense there to begin with. But no, we talked about that, and it was very clearly like that line will be set of, if you ruin this for another kid and we find out, you are done. Just, you're out. Well, I'll throw you out the window and let your uncles take care of you.
Wish Santa was in the house somewhere, coming down the chimney, like.
You'll be crying for ashes and whatever the bad kids get and all that stuff. Yeah. I'm making this sound so horrible. I'm joking for anybody listening. But
on a similar note, there was a comedian I watched. His name's Daniel Sloss. Oh yeah. He's hysterical. He's also highly offensive if you're an easily offended person.
Listen if you're easily offended.
Yeah. But on the similar note, with the parents not getting the credit for all the work they did within the Santa production, he jokes about how when you're cured at the doctor's office of something really bad that's killing you, they're like, "Oh my God, thank God." And the doctor's looking at the list like, I really don't think God had anything to do with this. And they're like, "No, really, it's a miracle." He's like, "Well, no, I see your nurse was Jackie and the person that cleaned your room was Bobby and my name's on it. God's not on any of this list here of who helped you cure this disease."
Yeah, there's a House episode like that. And he's like, "Well, we shouldn't even do surgery then. Why don't you just lay on this bed and we'll come back and get you when you're cured?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's arguments that, God gave us the ability to create the medicine that cures. But I mean, at the same right, not to get on something highly controversial, but
sure.
But with abortion, it's like abortion's against, the Bible or whatever, but God gave us the ability to create a safe abortion. So, I mean, you could look at it multiple ways with the God in there, but I just thought the stand-up was hilarious, how credit's taken away from people who do all the hard work.
Fucking George Carlin, like classically used to go, how come athletes always thank the Lord whenever something happens? Like, I like to give all the credit to God for us winning the Super Bowl, but you never hear him go, the good Lord tripped me up behind the line of scrimmage. Or like when you miss that punt, you're like, that was clearly the Lord's will.
Right.
You never hear about God when they win, and you don't hear shit when they don't,
Right.
They'll pray in the end zone, but when they get their salary, they're not given 10% to tithe.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, you just said that he did all of this, and you're not even going to give 10%.
Yeah, every time you drain that 3-pointer from 53 feet, you're like pointing at the rafters, but like fucking.
Those are such valid points. Those are the things that drive me nuts, because I would be the dude that was like backing it up by giving 10% to tithe or something.
If you truly believe it.
It bothers me. It's so fucking dumb.
If you truly believe it. Otherwise, you're just posturing and you're just playing to the crowd.
That's a damn fact.
The virtue signaling, as it's known.
Oh, God.
I thought of another tradition thing, but I don't think that this one is bad. Getting a birthday cake and blowing out the candles to make a wish, and then you not telling anyone. I thought about that hard one day, and I was like, what if that started to make kids goal-oriented so they could think about something they really want to accomplish? Because they're like, oh, what do you want to wish for? And, hopefully they didn't wish, or at some point they would stop wishing that they could fly and grow wings and, stuff like that, or be Spider-Man. And at some point they'd be like, oh, well, I really want to start a band one day, so I'm going to wish for that.
Sure.
And then it implements goals.
Well, yeah, the wish is the first step in the goal.
Dude, I
it
will
gets your
say
mental activity on it.
That's true, and I will say that's a striking fucking image. If you've ever been sitting there at a birthday cake and somebody goes, all right, make a wish, and you're looking at all the candles and there's all these people waiting on you to blow them out, you think fast. Mm-hmm. Like, you tend to think really fast. There's this, you know what I'm saying? There's almost like a like a moment of clarity you have about, like, if there's a girl in the room you like, you'll think about her. If there's something big overarching, like I want to get on the team, or like you said, I want to have a band, like it becomes glaringly clear, and you think about it, you blow the candles out. As opposed to if you're just hanging out with your friends, they go, hey, what do you really like? You go, fuck, dude, I mean, let's talk about it. It could be anything. Like, you're right. That moment of focused, like, I don't know.
It's the coin trick too with that. If you have two places you want to go to dinner, you can use this on your spouses anytime you want. If you have like two places, you're like, oh, should we go here to dinner or there to dinner? And they're like, oh, I don't know, you pick. And you're like, bullshit, I know you care. They're like, no, you pick. And you're like, okay, tell you what, I'll flip a coin. If it's heads, we're going here. If it's tails, you're going there. Doesn't matter. Just do it really quick. Flip it, put it down, go. It's that place, and this is really important. When you say what place it is, you look them in the eye and you look at their face. And if they look disappointed, they wanted to go to the other place. And then you go, fuck that, we're going to the other place.
Yeah, or you can just say, hey, it's a surprise. We're going to dinner. Guess the surprise. And whatever they guess is where they're wanting to go.
Or they think like really lowly of you, and they're like, oh, McDonald's. And you're like, no, come on.
Yeah.
I'm taking you somewhere.
Hey, hold up. The triple cheeseburger is the same price and all the same deliciousness for half the carbs.
Not for date night.
I do play along with fun traditions.
It's fair. Quite fair.
I do play along with fun traditions, though, like the birthday cake thing, but also if it's 11:11's on the clock, like blowing a kiss at it, making a wish. If you're going through a tunnel, holding your breath, or going by a graveyard, holding your breath. Like, I'll play with the fun ones, and I don't even know the history of these traditions, but I'm like, these are fun. It's something to do.
Stuff for people all to do together. So whatever you're doing, you stop.
Yeah.
If everyone's on their phones, maybe they'll stop for a second and do it.
Yeah.
Just so you all did something
together.
But I
mean, if you've had a bad day and you look at the clock and it's 11:11, that's your 1 minute of hope for the day. Like, make a wish, think something positive.
You could also put it on
out
a smile and turn it around.
Yeah.
Do you guys do the wishbone at Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Wait, what is that?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Do you not know?
Tell them, Rachel.
Do you really not know?
I don't know.
Do you know what a wishbone is?
Yes.
You know the shape of it?
Yeah.
If you and one other person pull, whoever gets the majority of the wishbone, because it'll never break right down the middle.
It'll break with one side being
kind of like an Oreo.
Like L-shaped almost.
It's similar to the
other one
Oreo.
will be big, and so somebody gets the shit into the stick.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually... But yeah, if you pull the wishbone, somebody gets screwed in the deal.
Yeah, but whoever gets the most amount of bone during the split, it gets the wish.
Oh.
If it splits perfectly, you're cursed.
Not to be confused.
Really?
With your
That's a tradition.
Because we actually had it split last year down the middle. And
right
we're
down
like,
the middle?
Yeah.
Black hole didn't form?
Yeah.
I guess you're okay.
No, it did. It was just at Y12.
Yeah, somewhere else.
Yeah. Jesus.
You're
Something
responsible for
bad
all the-
happened. Oh well, it wasn't to us.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're okay.
I just like to wish for things when I feel like wishing for them.
That's nice too. Yeah.
Well, what is that term when you are
As you pick up your
wishing?
fucking Frank Sinatra hat, you know.
Wish old Blue Eyes would come back.
I've got you.
The law of wishing is the first step in the law of attraction, and I do believe in the law of attraction, but it's mainly because you're putting your mental focus out there regularly, and it eventually you will learn the experience or learn the pathways that you need to take to make that happen in your life. So.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. Visualizing what you want and helping it come to fruition.
Yeah, like we used to have girls' night every night, and that was a tradition. We had girls' night for like 4 years every Thursday night with our group of girls, and like our boyfriends hated it.
What was it like,
What?
Spencer?
Why? They think you're scheming against them or something?
No, it was
looking at
just
you.
they would want us to go do something else, and we're like girls' night, girls' night. It was like the most top priority, and
They always knew when it was coming, right?
yeah, they
Sounds
did.
like their fault. I don't know.
Yeah,
I have
right.
no sympathy.
Yeah.
I don't even remember where I was going with this.
No, go on.
Oh, we made I forget what the board was called, but it was the idea of the law of attraction, where we would go through magazines and we would make this board and just plaster what we wanted in our life on the board, and we were supposed to hang that up somewhere that we saw it every day.
You guys invented Pinterest?
No, I think Pinterest taught us to do the board.
That sounds like
Oh, man.
you've got some royalties coming to you.
But you guys have both done music, right? You guys any
Yeah.
like traditions whenever you go play music?
I always pray before I go on stage,
I don't.
privately or with the group. It doesn't matter.
No, man. I'm always just like the one that's so trying to be super over prepared. Like I check everything 6 times, make sure everything's plugged in and taped down, and like I'm such a worried about it. One of my big traditions is I don't drink before I play.
Sure, yeah.
I drink incessantly other times, but I can't be. I've got to be kind of dialed in.
You don't want to be like sweating it out on stage or something?
I just suck ass. I'm so clumsy, just anyway, and I'm bad at remembering things. I'm just not. I'm not a natural at all. Like it takes a lot of work for me. But yeah, I don't know if there's any.
I like to do
the whole thing's kind of a tradition. Honestly,
Yeah.
like the whole day of a gig is kind
take
of
the
really,
day off work.
If you
can.
God willing, if you can take the day off work, everybody meets up. So you kind of this bonding thing, you know. So luckily, hopefully, anybody that's in a band is lucky to be in a band with people they're actually friends with. That's the best.
Yeah.
But then you get together all day and you maybe get something to eat, get coffee, talk about it a little bit, and then it's exciting. You have this anticipation, so you're just cutting up and talking shit, and it's so much fun. And then other than having to carry all the shit in and like set it up, there's tons of waiting. Like the biggest thing, the biggest part of rock and roll nobody understands is
It's
just
waiting.
the waiting.
Yeah.
It's all just waiting to do something for an hour and then waiting.
Well, I'll tell you the thing I did with East Toward Macedonia, which, again, we'll see when we get gigging if this winds up being necessary or if we have time for it, but was to do a real kind of like gentle pared down run through of the entire set just once, which, you know, with the amount of instruments probably we can't do with this one, but something like that. And then go real hard on like 1 or 2 of the hard, cool songs just to see where my voice is at, see if we need to tweak anything. And then to just talk about, go over the nitty gritty, which is the prep part of we're at this point, we're doing this, and like going over and over again, like 3-4 times, whether or not we're expanding this section the way we talked about before. Just whereas at practice, you try to get it down anyways. But like when we got there, it was always, this is what we're doing, and just turned it into like a science. And then the hour before, we just go to the bar and hang out. Wait to get called up.
Trying to find creative ways to use up all that time. And then when people start showing up, then you can socialize, and it's so fun and blah, blah, blah. But then there's always that 10 minutes before you're going to go on where you have to go backstage and you're with just your guys or whatever. That's pretty special, you know.
There was another...
And fucking terrifying, too. Just absolutely terrifying.
That makes it fun, though. That's where you get out and get weird
So you get
when you get on stage.
You get anxious, and it helps you out, you know.
Did like little quick playthrough help warm up the muscle memory?
Man, I used to know a guy that there's a guy named Travis Wyrick, who, shout out if he's listening. Travis is he's a producer here in Knoxville, and he's done big. He's done Dolly Parton. He's won Dove Awards from doing Christian music, and he's a huge guy. But he used to kind of take us under his wing, and he said his band back in the day would sit backstage and go through the entire set just with no amplifiers or anything, just strumming and playing, and they would all sing, and they would go through the whole set before they performed the set. But they were always practicing.
See, I would love to do that.
If they had 10 minutes, they were practicing, you know, even in the bathroom or just whatever, like writing the lyrics, getting it together. Like that kind of thing.
Work ethic.
It is, and I think that makes a difference in good bands and bad bands. Really, if you see the bands that are just like already drunk before they go on, and they're like at the bar trying to score or whatever. I mean, I get it, but those are the bands that fall apart live too. You know,
that was the thing that we did for sure. Was Ian and his brother were the guitar players in Macedonia, and they were. Ian could not help himself. I love you to death if you ever hear this. We had to like tune in between every single song, and sometimes while playing. He was like super anal about it, but they would be tuning the guitars, and this was the only band I'd ever done falsetto stuff in, and I don't have good control over it because I didn't do it much, so I was constantly going back and forth trying to hone in the falsetto before we got on stage for like the 2 songs I needed it for 5 seconds. So probably not even needed, but just prepping out the ass for it and then panicking until you get up there.
With dance, you have to practice on your off days, because if you're practicing right before you go out for like a 3-hour off and on performance, you're going to waste your energy. So stretching would be my tradition instead of practicing.
We used to stretch a lot too, to try to, because you don't want to get a cramp, and you know. I
think for the next thing that we do together for sure, and I guess we got to write them first, but it's been made more clear since we finally got the songs together and CDs being recorded, is the difference in practice alone, let alone doing more recording, and how much better everything sounds and how more together it is since we're all able to live with it for a week and then regroup. When we got here to record some stuff earlier, Spencer and I were both talking about how practice made us hurt for a couple days after, which is...
I totally fucked my knee up last practice.
Yeah. And I sang my ass off, and we did the set twice, and my core hurt.
We felt like we'd been in a fucking fight on Thursday, which is exactly how I wanted. That's what I want, you know.
But that was all a result of us being familiar enough with and we've been together for a while, but the CDs there, we're listening, and we all show up and we're like, okay, this is that one now, and there's not as much guesswork and like trying to figure out what the song is anymore. Yeah. Just get in and do it.
I feel like if you guys got a leg cramp on stage, you just increase your power stance and it just looks awesome. Like the opposite effect would happen. Yeah. You're like, oh, I'm such a nerd. I got a leg cramp on stage while I'm rocking out, but people are like, look at that power stance. He's about to do it.
Look, he's so convicted, you know. Yeah. I think that shit happens a lot more than people think with live bands. I think there's a lot of like pulled hamstrings and like there's a lot of shit going on where they just go like, man, they look really intense, and they're just thinking like, fuck, I'm trying to pick my watch up or something. There's all kinds of crazy stories too, man. There's so many stories about like guys on tour getting diarrhea.
Oh, dude!
But they can cancel because shittier artists do it. They're just so committed.
But they're better than that.
That's true.
Corey Taylor in the first 2 Slipknot cycles talked about how
those guys went to the hospital. They went so hard they were in the hospital constantly.
Yeah, he was busting his mouth open, like his teeth and stuff with the microphone, and then he would vomit mid song and have to swallow it in between. It like just come up in his mouth and he'd swallow it
not
back
like
down
on stage.
No. But because of he was screaming something monstrous.
Well, they were real physical too. They fought. They really fought each other on stage. They wrestled.
They lit him on fire.
It was crazy.
Just cause. Yeah. So
my friend Tim Hulbert that works for Waves, shout out Tim. He was telling me he saw the first Slipknot tour, and he goes, "Dude, it's like a swarm of bees. I don't know how any of those guys are surviving. Like I don't know how they're going to do this for like." I don't know, 160 dates this year. How could they survive it, you know? So I don't know. Anyway, well, guys, we appreciate you guys stopping by. I think we're going to probably wrap up here. Do you guys have any shout outs you want to give, or anything you think you're getting up to, or something you want to direct people's attention to, or anything?
Not really.
No, just enjoyed being here. It's nice.
It was nice having you guys.
Yeah.
It's good to see you guys back. And also, we'll extend the invitation. Come anytime you guys have an afternoon or something. Just, if you got anything on your mind, whatever, dude, just show up. It's all good.
The traditions thing was fun. It was a good.
It really kind of got me thinking about it. I was like, oh man,
it's a really fun thing to think about, and it's a very fun thing to deconstruct. I recommend anyone, anywhere, do it.
All right, well, guys, drop us a line. Let us know. Shout out to Casey for not being here today.
Miss you, Casey.
And Casey is actually in Alabama right now with our other good friend Jason Turner. And they're going to be doing a bunch of party chat episodes, tons of like content. Just keep an eye on the YouTube channel because he's going to be uploading some. We can't even imagine how crazy it's going to be. But once again, Tweester, Rachel, thank you guys so much for being here today.
Casey, miss you, buddy. And I think we're all going to talk about scary stories to tell in the dark now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Good luck being in Alabama.